Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over Razor's Edge performance at Rage in the Cage 2021. You may have seen the match videos up on the channel recently, but today I'm going to be going over what happened behind the scenes and in the pits. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. For a bit of background on the venue, this year's Rage in the Cage event was hosted by Bloomsburg Area High School at the Knoebels Amusement Resort Park in eastern Pennsylvania. The morning of the event, I've been pretty busy setting up my pits as well as my filming equipment, so I hadn't got the most time to take a look at my competition. So, going into the first match mostly blind, I was up against the Hornet's Nest. The Hornet's Nest is a large diameter, vertical spinner that looked like the weapon could be pretty violent if paired with the proper electronics. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch them do their spin-up test earlier in the day, so I had no clue how powerful it actually was. Regardless, they looked like they had enough ground clearance under the robot that my forks would be able to work pretty well, so I could keep the front of the robot pointed at them, get under them, and see what I could do.
Razor's Edge, are you ready? Oh, I gotta stand up for this one, folks. All right, in 3, 2, 1, fight robot, fight!
Overall, this fight was a very nice start to the day. The Hornet's Nest ended up tapping out pretty early on in the match, and I can't blame them. With my win in this fight, I was on track to have more time in the pits to repair my robot, while the Hornet's Nest was going to have some pretty quick turnaround times later in the day. The new forks on the front of the robot helped to prevent me from doing front flips, while the wheelie bars in the back were instrumental in helping to keep me on the ground while driving. My one mistake this fight was that I kept going under them towards the end of the match. This really wasn't doing any damage to them, it's kind of dangerous for me, and I really should have been going for larger hits in the corner of the frame instead. Regardless, I came out of this match unscathed and was on to my next fight against Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is a great author, but in this competition, Dr. Seuss was a pretty basic wedgebot. Going into this match, I was hoping that they wouldn't tap out, I'd get some driving practice, and I'd do some serious damage to the aluminum shell. Let's see how that worked out for me.
Oh my goodness. All right. Dr. Seuss, are you ready?
We're gonna go with this.
All right, we got a thumbs up from Dr. Seuss. Razor's Edge, are you ready?
No, we are not.
Turn on.
Contemplation.
It turned on for a second.
We got
No,
movement.
we are not.
Said not yet.
We need time.
We're gonna retest here a second.
Shut the
The
control off.
weapon ESC isn't working.
Shut the control off.
I'll try the controller, but
We can manage time. Looks like taking control.
yeah, we need more time.
It appears as though either something's not starting or turning on. We're gonna take a second here.
Yeah, we're trying.
Alright, what do you want to do? Yeah, it's the weapon ESC, so. Oh, what do you
It
think?
looks like we might be back.
Okay, we'll be good.
You think so?
Okay!
I don't know, it's-
Razor's Edge is ready. Dr. Seuss, get ready again.
Hey, we can take it.
In 3, 2, 1, fight robots, fight!
I have no clue.
Alright, that's alright.
Let's hear it for the Seuss!
I don't have time to restart my
I know,
controller.
it's alright, just push them. You'll be able to do by pushing as long as you stay calm.
I'm trying it again. I don't have it. Oh, I almost had it. I almost had it.
It's like a giant speed bump. Oh, another nice slam into the wall. Dr. Seuss needs to back the other robot. Oh, there we go. Oh, he's showing his boss. Dr. Seuss does not like being pushed around. He said.
Alright, yeah. It's lunch. We need to take it over. Yeah.
Nice push. There's 1 minute left. Can you get some audience participation?
Yep, I got it.
That's trying to do a drive trade. It really is difficult to drive these robots, but it's not easy.
What'd they say? What'd they say?
No, they're getting
Okay, I didn't know if it was a counter.
something's wrong. Just drive around. You're good. Something's wrong. Don't do that if anything. See? Yeah. Just stay down. So we'll fix the plastic. And then
From a spectator's perspective, what I did in this match almost looks intentional, when in fact it was completely the opposite. You can hear me theorize during the match that I thought my controller was messing up, but I later realized it was a dead weapon ESC. Why it worked partially towards the end of this match, only in reverse, I'll never know. I've since taken it apart and couldn't find anything wrong. In between this match and the next one, I spent a lot of time in the pits diagnosing what the problem could be. I first thought it was my controller, then radio, then the weapon motor, and finally came to the conclusion that it was the ESC. I've never had any issues with the Mamba Monster X that powers the drum, but apparently that was his last breath, as I could never get it to work again. At this point in the competition, I had two options. I could continue as just a push bot with no weapon, or I could cannibalize one of the drive ESCs to run the drum. Now in most other robots this isn't an option, as the drive ESCs are normally a lot smaller than the weapon. But with Razor's Edge, all the ESCs have to run 6 cell because it's just one circuit. So Sidewinder 8s are the smallest thing that I can get that'll do that. Sidewinder 8s and Mamba Monster X's are almost the exact same, except the Monster X can use a sensor harness. The only real difference the sensor harness makes is that I can't spin the drum up as fast at the beginning of the match. So, for me, the decision to run the robot without one drive wheel, but with a functional drum, was a very easy one. I like destruction, and I have a good sense of how the robot gyro walks from previous competitions where I've had to do something similar. So, with a fully functional but sensorless drum and one drive wheel, I went in my next fight against Vengeance Jr. By this match, Vengeance Jr. was looking like the toughest robot in the competition. Vengeance is a 4-wheel drive, beater bar vertical spinner with slope steel armor and a durable drive setup. While crude looking, it had performed very well in its matches up to this point in the competition. They didn't look like they had any long forks out front of the robot though, so I was pretty confident my UHMW forks were going to be able to get under the robot and feed them into the drum. So, let's see how Vengeance Jr. versus Razor's Edge went down.
Studio, are you ready? Razor's Edge, are you ready? In 3, 2, 1, fight robots, fight!
This match was a big relief for me. To see the drone work successfully off of one of the dry VSCs, and see how well I was still able to navigate around the arena, definitely gave me some confidence going into the later matches of the day. As for this match, Vengeance Jr. is an extremely durable robot that was doing pretty well even after the left drive side got taken out. Alas, they were counted out after getting stuck up against the arena wall. Apparently, I also racked and damaged their side and rear armor bad enough that they had to switch to a backup set after this match. As for damage to Razor's Edge, the back wheelie bars got broken off, and one of the front forks got a sizable chunk taken out of it by Vengeance's weapon, but overall, really no repairs to do in the pits. So, after changing the batteries, the Razor's Edge was on to its next match against Push Comes to Shove. Push Comes to Shove is a pretty lackluster 4-wheel drive push bot. It wasn't exceptionally well armored, very fast, or have any sort of active weapon. Going into this match, I was pretty confident that I was going to come out on top, but was very frustrated that I only had one wheel to do it with. With only one wheel, it's pretty hard for Razor's Edge to get a good bite on an opponent, especially one like Push Comes to Shove with flat sides.
Oh, yeah.
I have the feeling that nice sound means Razor's Edge is ready.
Yeah.
How's Push Comes to Shove? He looks confident too. This is going to be fun, folks. You have a video camera, you might want to check this one out. I think we might see our first free one. So we'll see. In 3, 2, 1, fight robots, fight!
As expected, this match was kind of boring. It was extremely frustrating to drive this match knowing how much weapon power I had, but I just couldn't get a good bite on their robot. I'll definitely be bringing more ESCs in the future so this doesn't happen. Also, I have no idea why Push Comes to Shove died towards the end of the match. I never got a clear answer from them post-fight. And with that, Razor's Edge was on to the final against none other than Vengeance Jr. Because this tournament was double elimination, Vengeance Jr. had fought their way through the losers bracket and came out on top, meaning I got to face them once again for the finals. If you'd like to see how Vengeance fared in the losers bracket, there will be a card on screen to all of their fights. The strategy of this fight was the same as the last match against them, and I went in more confident knowing that their beater bar couldn't get that good a bite on the robot due to how low profile Razor's Edge is. So, let's take a look at the Rage in the Cage finals, Razor's Edge versus Vengeance Jr.
Are we ready? Vengeance Jr. Are you ready? Razor's Edge, are you ready? Alright, 3, 2, 1, fight robots, fight!
So this fight was by far the most destructive of the event, and the only one where a robot hit the roof of the cage. Vengeance Jr. once again put up an amazing fight, but was ultimately counted out after an electronic failure inside the robot. On my end, Razor's Edge drove about as well as it could for only having one wheel. I can't say chasing them around the arena by bouncing off the walls was intentional, but it did the job. On the outside, the damage to Razor's Edge doesn't look too bad. The back wheelie bars and the front forks got a bit mangled, the top cover has a scuff and a dent in it from when Vengeance fell on me from the cage roof, and the front frame mirrors got chewed up as usual. One of the frame mirrors was also dented in pretty severely. I think that was caused from me slamming myself against the arena wall at some point. Overall though, the main point of damage coming out of this match was on the inside of the drum. The very last hit of this match, where I hit the wall and go flying, the drum stops working. This was not because I turned the weapon off, but because it stopped and seized. As soon as I saw it had stopped, I turned the weapon off of my controller, but at that point it was too late. It's hard to see in the match video, but the robot let out a puff of white smoke. Once we got it back in the pits, it smelled kind of funny as well. Even though I have a new macro lens for the GoPro, it was still hard to document just how bad the motor looked after pulling it out of the drum casing due to how tiny it was. However, as bad as it does look, it smelled 10 times worse. The charred and burnt epoxy that once coated the magnets now smelled like rotting eggs, burnt cheese, and a lot of chemicals all mixed into one. It appears what happened is that the motor was holding up pretty well throughout the day, up until the last match, where the small shaft bearings broke on the inside of the motor and the guts worked their way out into the cavity between the armature and the magnets. The battle hardening treatment I did to the magnets definitely did its job though, as even with all the metal debris I found stuck to the magnets themselves were still intact. The same can't be said for the armature. I think what happened is after the motor came to a stop, I tested it really quick to see if it was stuck, and the bearing guts shorted out the windings between the armature and it melted down what was left of it when I tested it at the end of the match. This is the fourth weapon motor that Razor's Edge has wrecked, and the first one from Alien Power Systems. I've drastically improved my motor mounting and implementation of the hub motor concept in the 15-pound weight class since my first version of Razor's Edge, but to take the concept much further beyond what I had at this event is going to require some serious changes. A lot of the projects I'm doing on the mill will facilitate this, like the fourth axis I plan to build coming up soon. But it's still a very expensive prospect involving a lot of custom tooling and parts. With my finals match against Vengeance Jr. being the last match of the day, there was a short award ceremony held right after. Push Comes to Shove took third place, Vengeance Jr. took second, and Team RE Combat Robotics and Razor's Edge took first place, as well as the Best Engineered Award. The Best Engineered Award in particular really means a lot to me and my team. My goal with Razor's Edge is to further my engineering and machining skills and to prove my ideas in competition. To be recognized with the Best Engineer Award really motivates me to push the bounds of what can be done in the 15-pound weight class. First place is pretty nice too. I wouldn't mind winning a few more of those in the future. That should be everything wrapped up for the 2021 Rage in the Cage event recap. A huge shout out to Kirk from Bloomsburg Area High School for hosting the event, and to all the teams that were able to make it to put on a great show. Make sure to check out our team's Instagram page for any channel updates, and subscribe so you don't miss any new robot or machining content like this prototype frame for a new 15-pound robot I'm working on. In the meantime, stay safe, and thanks for watching.